Right, definitely. And what do you think is the one or two of the biggest lessons that we can get from how our reading instruction has changed over time to help us move towards a better future for all of our students, not just the ones with dyslexia, but those that are at risk for various other reasons?
Yeah, I think, seeing what's worked and seeing, that science is science. I think, we still have people that think the earth is flat or, all these other things. But I think if we can get people vested in science and show that it's proven, and I think we have to align it to our economies. There was a time, and especially kind of at the beginning of whole language, people were still working in factories. They didn't really need to read that much, but we don't have that kind of economy anymore. Even, an apprentice plumber has to be able to read his texts, fill in an application, probably read some manuals. We don't have an economy that you can have a job without reading anymore. So I think, some of these arguments that are more in the business side, if we align our instruction with the economy that we have, we can create more consumers, our businesses will do better, people will have money, our economy will grow. And that's what we got to do. Instead of, in the US, 50% of our prisoners are functionally illiterate due to dyslexia. That's a cost to our society rather than an input to our society.
Exactly. And, you see the same with the homeless population and individuals in mental health, because the tax or the emotional damage that is done for individuals that fail to learn how to read and they don't get that support and that access, it causes long-term damage. And even for the individuals that get the remediation and become fluent readers, and it's damage that we can avoid, and we need to do better as a society globally on this.
Just the costs that teaching a first grader is 25% of the cost of teaching a fourth grader to read.
Yeah,
I mean, they're right there. And as the kids get older, it's even more costly to teach them to read. It just takes more time to teach these things to someone who's already got all these bad habits.
Yeah, well, and another thing that we didn't really touch on in your discussion, but I've had with others, is talking about the fact that we can screen early for these difficulties, and we're not going to be diagnosing the children with dyslexia or a specific learning disability. We're saying they're at risk. And the things that we've been talking about in our conversation about some of the best practices, if you employ those very early on in the early intervention stage before these kids begin their reading instruction so they can catch up, has huge lasting effects and reduces the number of kids that struggle and the amount of struggle that they do have.
Exactly. So I'm in my work, I'm not just fighting for pre-service teachers to understand the science of reading, but also doctors and social workers.
Yes.
My pediatrician asked us if we got screened for Tay-Sachs. Yes, we did. We thought that was a pretty responsible thing to do. He didn't ask us about any reading difficulties that ran in our family. And if we had gotten my son into speech therapy really early and were able to advocate for him in kindergarten for more early intervention, his trajectory might have been totally different.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But even for the parents that get that early SLP or work with a speech and language pathologist and are advocating from the beginning, unfortunately, our school systems just aren't at the point where they're ready to dive in and say, okay, we know what to do.
Right.
And
exactly.
So we need to get there, and I'm sure we'll get there.